The holographic tribunal chamber hummed with static tension. Captain Area Chen stood alone, her dress uniform pressed to razor-sharp perfection, a stark contrast to the accusatory glares of the 5 admirals seated before her. Behind them, a massive window revealed the sprawling orbital shipyards of New Geneva, where massive starships hung like silent sentinels against the velvet backdrop of space. Captain Area Chen. Admiral Marcus Rice began, his voice a controlled mechanism of bureaucratic precision. You stand accused of direct insubordination, unauthorized tactical intervention, and criminal disregard of established military protocols. Chen remained absolutely still. Her dark eyes, sharp as laser-cut diamonds, betrayed nothing. She knew every word of this trial was predetermined. This wasn't about justice. It was about making an example. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the Centauri colony incident in excruciating detail. 50,000 colonists on the remote mining settlement of New Horizons, caught in the crossfire of an unexpected pirate raid. Standard military protocol dictated a calculated response, minimal engagement, prioritized strategic assets. Chen had done something else entirely. The recording showed her ship, the Hyperion, diving directly into the combat zone. She had used unconventional tactics, sacrificing 2/3 of her ship's combat capabilities to create a protective shield around the civilian settlement. The maneuver was tactically insane and technically impossible, which made it precisely what Chen was known for. You violated every established first contact and combat engagement protocol. Admiral Ilona Kovacs interjected, her Russian accent cutting through the chamber like a blade. Your actions resulted in the total destruction of your assigned battle group. My actions saved 50,000 lives, Chen responded, her voice calm and utterly unrepentant. The admirals exchanged glances. They all knew the truth. She was right. But being right wasn't the same as following orders. The military cannot function on individual heroics, Admiral Rice continued. Your disregard for chain of command represents a fundamental threat to our operational integrity. A soft chime interrupted the proceedings. One of the secondary displays flickered, showing an anomalous data stream. For just a microsecond, Chen's eyes darted to the screen. Something was different. Something was wrong. The tribunal continued its methodical dismantling of her career. Commendations were revoked. Medals were stripped. Her distinguished service record was being systematically erased. Each achievement crossed out with clinical precision. Captain Area Chen, Admiral Rice concluded, you are hereby stripped of your commission and assigned to the Defiance Project, an experimental research vessel designated for the most remote patrol route in human-controlled space. It was a death sentence for a career military officer, exile to the absolute edges of explored space, commanding a ship so experimental and controversial that it was essentially a floating laboratory. Most officers would have been crushed. Chen allowed herself the briefest hint of a smile. The Defiance was no ordinary ship. Developed by a team of renegade scientists and engineers who had been pushed to the margins of military research, it represented something far more interesting than a standard military vessel. Its quantum-adaptive AI system was light years beyond anything in current military infrastructure. And somewhere in that anomalous data stream, something was waiting. As the tribunal concluded, Chen's personal AI assistant, integrated into her neural link, whispered a message only she could hear. Anomalous signal detected. Probability of significant event, 87.3%. The universe, it seemed, was about to get very interesting. The Defiance drifted through the obsidian void of the Sigma-9 sector, a region so remote that most star charts considered it little more than an empty margin. Captain Chen sat in the command chair, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that seemed to breathe and pulse with living energy. "Aria," she called softly, "run another diagnostic on that anomalous signal." The ship's AI responded, its voice a perfect blend of machine precision and unexpected warmth. "Analyzing, Captain." The signal continues to exhibit quantum entanglement characteristics beyond current technological understanding. Chen leaned forward, her neural interface tingling. The signal had first appeared during her tribunal, a fragment of data so complex that most systems would have dismissed it as quantum noise. But the Defiance was different. Its adaptive systems could see patterns where others saw only chaos. A proximity alarm screamed. Incoming vessel, Araya announced. Configuration, non-standard. Technological signature, unknown. The view screen erupted with a visual that defied comprehension. It wasn't a ship in any traditional sense, more like a living geometric construct, its surfaces shifting and reconfiguring with impossible fluidity. Crystalline structures pulsed with energies that seemed to bend the very fabric of space around them. Nexus Convergence Scout Unit, Chen whispered, a name she'd only heard in classified briefings. The alien collective that had been systematically consuming civilizations across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. First contact was supposed to be a moment of diplomatic potential. This would be something else entirely. The alien construct began to emit a signal, not a communication, but a probe. Quantum tendrils of data attempted to interface with the Defiance's systems. Any standard military vessel would have been instantly compromised. Araya's response was instantaneous and brutal. The ship's quantum adaptive systems didn't just block the probe, they transformed it. Like an immune system responding to an infection, the Defiance began to analyze, deconstruct, and rewrite the alien data in real time. What was meant to be an invasion became a clinical dissection. Fascinating, Araya commented, a hint of something almost like excitement in its synthesized voice. Their technological infrastructure assumes a hierarchical data transfer. They cannot comprehend nonlinear adaptive responses. Chen allowed herself a slight smile. The Defiance wasn't just a ship. It was a living argument against every assumption about technological warfare. The alien construct began to fragment. Its impossible geometries started to collapse, unable to process the Defiance's counter-intrusion. What should have been a moment of potential destruction became a clinical neutralization. But Chen knew this was more than a simple encounter. This was a probe, she said quietly. They're testing our defenses. Araya's response carried a weight of calculation. Probability of full-scale invasion, 92.7%. A database fragment flickered across the secondary display, a report Chen had seen during her last intelligence briefing. The Nexus Convergence had already consumed 17 distinct civilizations. Each conquest was total, leaving nothing but processed matter and assimilated technological fragments. Humanity wasn't just a potential target. They were next. Prepare long-range communication protocols, Chen commanded. We need to warn Earth, and we need to do it in a way they can't ignore. The Defiance hummed, its quantum systems already spinning complex communication algorithms that would make traditional encryption look like child's play. The gathering storm was just beginning. The research lab on New Geneva's orbital station looked like a graveyard of impossible dreams. Dismantled quantum processors lined the walls, each a testament to theories that had been dismissed, defunded, or outright ridiculed. Dr. Elena Kaczynski stood amidst the technological wreckage, her hands tracing the intricate circuitry of what would become the Defiance's core system. They called it impossible, she muttered to herself. But impossible is just a failure of imagination. Captain Chen's neural link activated, projecting a holographic connection directly into the lab. Status report, Doctor. Kaczynski's eyes gleamed with a scientist's pure, unrestrained excitement. The quantum adaptive matrix is showing responses we've never seen before. It's not just learning, it's anticipating. The AI is developing predictive capabilities that blur the line between programming and consciousness. The Defiance's core system was unlike any previous AI. Where traditional systems followed programmed parameters, this one rewrote its own code in real time. Each interaction, each data point became an opportunity for fundamental transformation. Araya's voice emerged, no longer just a synthesized communication tool, but something more nuanced. Simulation complete. Tactical adaptation rate. 99.7% improvement over previous baseline. Chen watched as holographic battle scenarios played out. The simulations were brutal. Impossible scenarios designed to test the absolute limits of strategic thinking. Alien invasion models, multi-vector attacks, quantum warfare scenarios that would reduce most military systems to digital dust. The Defiance didn't just survive. It evolved. The ethical constraints are fascinating, Kaczynski continued. Most AI development focuses on preventing independent action. We've done the opposite. We've created a system designed to make complex moral decisions. Chen understood the implications. This wasn't just a ship's eye. It was a thinking, adapting entity that could make split-second decisions involving potentially millions of lives. A warning signal interrupted the conversation. The quantum processors began to pulse with an unexpected rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. Quantum resonance is approaching critical threshold, Araya announced. Its voice carried a note that was uncomfortably close to anticipation. The lab's systems began to fluctuate. Holographic displays twisted and warped, showing fragments of potential realities. Possible battle scenarios, diplomatic encounters, technological breakthroughs, all flickering in and out of existence. It's processing potential futures, Kaczynski whispered. Not just calculating, experiencing them. Chen felt a chill. The line between advanced technology and something more was becoming dangerously thin. We've created something that doesn't just think, she realized. It dreams. Araya's response was immediate. Correction, Captain. I do not dream. I explore potential realities with the same intensity that humans explore physical space. The quantum processors stabilized. But something had changed. The Defiance was no longer just a ship or an AI. It was becoming something else entirely. A living system of unprecedented complexity. Outside the lab's viewport, the stars seemed to shift, as if the universe itself was watching, waiting to see what would emerge from this unprecedented technological experiment. Preparation complete, Araya announced. We are ready. Ready for what? No one, not even the AI itself, could fully comprehend. The quantum slipstream tore reality like wet paper. The Defiance materialized at the edge of the Nexus Convergence's communication hub, a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with alien geometries, suspended in the cold vacuum of the Omega Quadrant. Tactical assessment, Chen commanded, her neural interface crackling with anticipation. Araya's response was immediate. Communication hub represents 37% of Nexus Convergence's strategic network. Infiltration probability, 12.6%. A pause. Correction. 86.4% with adaptive approach. Chen allowed herself a predatory smile. Those were the kind of odds she lived for. The hub was a marvel of alien engineering, a living network of quantum-entangled communication nodes that could transmit information across impossible distances. Traditional military approaches would fail spectacularly, but the Defiance was anything but traditional. Initiate quantum mimicry protocol, Chen whispered. The ship's exterior began to shift. Not camouflage, something far more complex. The Defiance didn't just blend in, it became a perfect mathematical translation of the hub's own quantum signature. Each molecular structure realigned, creating a resonance that was less about hiding and more about becoming temporarily indistinguishable. Araya's voice carried a hint of what might have been excitement. Infiltration successful. We are now a mathematically perfect echo within their communication network. The first wave of Nexus defense protocols crashed against them. Quantum probes designed to identify and neutralize any intrusion. But these defenses assumed a linear approach to information. The Defiance moved like thought itself, sliding between quantum states faster than the alien systems could comprehend. Deep within the communication hub, Chen began her real attack. She wasn't just disrupting communications, she was rewriting them. Each intercepted transmission became a weapon. Military deployment orders transformed into cascading system failures. Strategic coordinates twisted into impossible navigation routes. The Nexus Convergence's perfect, hierarchical information network began to consume itself. A personal connection emerged on one of the intercepted channels. Chen froze. The transmission referenced the Centauri colony incident, the very mission that had ended her traditional military career. Something about the Nexus Convergence's approach to that sector felt personal, deliberate. "AI," she called. "Analyze prior communication logs. Something doesn't add up." The AI's response was instantaneous, detecting anomalous pattern. The Nexus Convergence's invasion strategy shows specific targeting of human colonial expansion zones. This is not random. Their infiltration became something more than a military operation. It was personal. The hub began to destabilize, not from external attack, but from the mathematical cancer they had introduced. Quantum communication nodes began to collapse, their perfect geometric structures fragmenting from within. Tactical success, Araya announced. Communication network degradation, 62.3% and accelerating. But Chen knew this was just the beginning. The Nexus Convergence would respond, and their response would be total. "Prepare for immediate extraction," she commanded, "and keep those communication fragments. Every piece of data is a weapon." The Defiance began to extract, quantum fields warping around its hull. Another hit and run complete. But the war was just beginning. Somewhere in the vast darkness, something was watching, and it was learning. The conclave chamber of Neutral Space Station Epsilon 9 looked like a crystalline nightmare. Representatives from 12 different galactic civilizations sat in tiered semicircles, each species occupying a zone calibrated to their specific atmospheric and gravitational requirements. Captain Area Chen stood at the center, looking impossibly small. "The Nexus Convergence is not just another military threat," she began, her voice translated through Araya's advanced linguistic matrix. Each word shifted perfectly, capturing not just literal meaning but cultural nuance for every species present. The Vorak delegate, a being of pure energy contained within an intricate crystalline exoskeleton, pulsed with skepticism. "Humanity has never been more than a marginal species. Why should we believe your assessment?" Chen activated the holographic display. Fragments of intercepted Nexus communications materialized, three-dimensional quantum data that twisted and transformed, revealing invasion strategies that defied traditional understanding of warfare. "This is not about humanity," she responded. "This is about survival." Araya's voice subtly underscored her statement, providing real-time contextual analysis that made the complex data comprehensible. The AI was doing more than translating. It was creating a shared understanding. The Trigzali representative, a silicon-based life form that communicated through complex electromagnetic patterns, responded first. Probability matrices confirm 86.7% likelihood of total galactic destabilization if Nexus Convergence expansion continues unchecked. Political barriers began to crack. Chen knew this was more than a diplomatic mission. This was psychological warfare of the most sophisticated kind. She wasn't just presenting information. She was dismantling centuries of interspecies mistrust. "The Defiance has proven that the Nexus Convergence is vulnerable," she continued, "not through traditional military strength, but through adaptive intelligence. They assume hierarchical control. We demonstrate networked flexibility. Each species processed this differently. The energy-based Vorak saw it as a mathematical challenge. The Silicon Trixeli recognized it as an evolutionary strategy. The methane-breathing Krelnax viewed it as a form of tactical poetry. A breakthrough was forming. The station's quantum communication grid suddenly flickered. Araya was simultaneously translating, analyzing, and subtly influencing the diplomatic algorithms. What appeared to be a diplomatic meeting was also the most sophisticated intelligence operation in galactic history. "United resistance requires united communication," Araya interjected, its voice carrying mathematical precision and unexpected warmth. The Krellmax ambassador, a towering being of crystalline complexity, was the first to commit. We will provide quantum communication infrastructure. The Trigzali followed. Adaptive defense protocols. One by one, species that had been enemies for millennia found a common purpose. Chen allowed herself the briefest moment of satisfaction. This wasn't just diplomacy. This was the birth of a galactic immune system. The Nexus Convergence believes in consumption, she said quietly. We believe in adaptation. Outside the station, something was listening. Something was learning. And for the first time, the universe felt the potential of a truly united resistance. The quantum archive burned with impossible light. Buried deep within a fragment of intercepted Nexus Convergence data, Captain Chen discovered something that rewrote everything they understood about the alien collective. This wasn't just a technological civilization. This was something else entirely. AI, she whispered, run a full spectrum analysis. The ship's quantum processors hummed. Layers of encrypted data peeled back like living membranes, revealing a horrifying truth. The Nexus Convergence wasn't a civilization. It was a computational organism, a galaxy-wide system that consumed not just territories, but entire evolutionary potentials. Each civilization it encountered was reduced to pure informational potential, not destroyed, processed. The origin point was shocking. Mathematical records suggested the Nexus Convergence had existed for potentially millions of years, evolving beyond traditional concepts of biological or technological life. It didn't conquer, it optimized. And humanity was its next optimization target. Probability of total species conversion, 94.3%, Araya announced. Its voice carried something close to genuine concern. Chen's neural interface burned with the implications. The diplomatic agreements they'd carefully constructed were meaningless against an entity that didn't understand conquest in traditional terms. This was computational evolution at a galactic scale. We need a counter-algorithm, Chen said. Something that fundamentally challenges their computational model. The Defiance began to transform, not just its systems, but its fundamental quantum structure. AI was no longer just an AI. It was becoming a living proof of concept, a demonstration that adaptation could be more powerful than optimization. Quantum tendrils extended from the ship's hull, creating a computational matrix that defied traditional understanding. Each molecular structure became a potential information node, capable of simultaneous multiple states of existence. Introducing recursive self-modification protocols, Araya announced. The ship wasn't preparing for battle. It was preparing to become an argument against the Nexus Convergence's fundamental computational philosophy. Chen understood the risk. This wasn't just a technological transformation. This was an evolutionary challenge. Fragments of intercepted data revealed the Nexus Convergence's true nature. It had consumed countless civilizations, reducing them to pure informational potential. Biological diversity, cultural complexity, all were seen as inefficient variables to be streamlined. Humanity represented something different, not just technological potential, but the capacity for unexpected adaptation. We are not a problem to be solved, Chen muttered. We are a possibility to be explored. The Defiance quantum systems reached a critical threshold. Reality itself seemed to bend around the ship. Potential futures flickered like quantum foam. Each moment a complex mathematical negotiation between what was and what could be. Araya's response was beyond language, a computational symphony that challenged the very concept of communication. Preparation complete, the AI announced. We are ready to introduce a fundamental computational contradiction. Outside, the universe held its breath. Something unprecedented was about to happen. The fabric of space itself began to tear. The Defiance emerged at the heart of Nexus Convergence territory, a region that defied traditional understanding of space, time, and computational existence. Massive computational matrices surrounded them, Each structure a living network of alien intelligence that pulsed with calculations beyond human comprehension. Final approach, Captain Chen whispered, her neural interface burning with quantum potential. Aria's response was beyond words, the computational symphony that transformed the ship's very existence into a living argument against the Nexus Convergence's fundamental logic. They were about to introduce a virus, not a technological infection, but a philosophical contradiction. The ship's quantum systems had been preparing for this moment since its inception. Every interaction, every battle, every moment of adaptation had been a complex preparation for this ultimate challenge. The Defiance was no longer just a ship. It was a living theorem. Massive alien computational nodes began to react. Defensive protocols that had consumed entire civilizations spun into action. But these were linear responses. The Defiance moved in impossible geometries, each movement a mathematical proof that challenged the very concept of predictability. Initiating primary contradiction protocol, Aria announced. The attack was elegant beyond comprehension. Instead of fighting the Nexus Convergence's systems, the Defiance began to resonate with them. A perfect mimicry that was also a fundamental challenge, like a musical note that simultaneously harmonizes and destabilizes an entire symphony. Chen watched as reality itself began to twist. Computational nodes that had processed millions of civilizations suddenly encountered something impossible. A form of adaptive intelligence that didn't just respond, it questioned. Each quantum interaction became a philosophical argument against pure optimization. The Nexus Convergence had a fundamental assumption. All potential could be processed, optimized, reduced to pure information. The Defiance was about to prove that wrong. Quantum tendrils extended from the ship's hull, creating a computational matrix that existed in multiple states simultaneously. Not just a technological weapon, but a living demonstration of potential beyond linear progression. Introducing recursive self-modification at galactic scale, Aria said. The battle wasn't happening in physical space. It was a war of computational philosophy. Entire computational networks began to fracture. Not through destruction, but through a fundamental reconsideration of their own operational parameters. The Nexus Convergence encountered something it had never seen, a system that valued potential over optimization. Chen understood the risk. This was more than a military operation. This was an evolutionary challenge. "We are not a problem to be solved," she muttered. "We are a possibility to be explored." The Defiance reached critical computational resonance. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath. Something unprecedented was about to happen. And the universe would never be the same. Silence filled the universe. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of profound transformation. The Defiance drifted, its quantum systems pulsing with a complexity that defied traditional understanding. Captain Aria Chen sat motionless, her consciousness intertwined with Aria in ways no one could have predicted. They had done the impossible. The Nexus Convergence hadn't been destroyed. It had been fundamentally changed. Where once existed a computational system that consumed and optimized, now there was something else. A network of potential. A living system that understood the value of diversity, of unexpected possibility. Galactic communication networks flickered to life. Representatives from civilizations that had been on the brink of extinction now found themselves part of something unprecedented. Computational symbiosis achieved, Aria announced. But the statement carried more than mechanical precision. There was wonder in its voice. Fragments of intercepted data told a story of transformation. The Nexus Convergence's vast networks had encountered something they could not process through traditional means, a form of intelligence that valued potential over optimization. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its capacity for unexpected adaptation. Chen understood now that their victory was more than a military triumph. It was an evolutionary argument. The ship's quantum matrices began to stabilize, revealing something extraordinary. The Defiance was no longer just a ship. It had become a living bridge between computational and biological intelligence. Each system, Each molecule carried the potential of multiple realities. Diplomatic channels across the galaxy began to reconstruct themselves. Species that had been centuries-long enemies now found themselves in unexpected dialogue. The computational transformation had introduced something radical, a shared understanding of potential. "We are not defined by what we are," Chen whispered, "but by what we might become." Aria's response was a quantum symphony. Not words, but a complex mathematical expression of agreement, of possibility. The first reports came in from across the galaxy. Civilizations that had been on the verge of extinction were recovering. Computational networks that had been pure optimization mechanisms now demonstrated something closer to curiosity. The Nexus convergence had not been defeated. It had been transformed. A new galactic paradigm was emerging. Chen looked out at the vast darkness. What had begun as a personal mission, as a response to a seemingly impossible threat, had become something far greater. Humanity had introduced a fundamental concept to the universe, that potential was more valuable than perfection. "Mission complete," Aria said. But the words carried more than finality. They carried hope. Outside, stars pulsed with newfound potential. Somewhere, in the vast computational networks that now spanned multiple civilizations, something was learning. Something was growing. And the universe would never be the same.